All right, let's move to new business, architect agreement.
This is the general boilerplate agreement. As you can see, we started working on this with our attorneys and DLA's attorneys back in February when the board approved to use DLA for the project. I spoke with Mr. Walsh yesterday. He had several comments or questions. So I bounced some off I got to the attorney. He was unable to answer all of them. But there are three significant ones that I wanted just to report out. The agreement or the proposal that the board approved, which started this whole process, has now been attached to the contract, which will justify why it's backdated. The rate schedule, the general rate schedule for DLA and their employees and services has been attached. And what this contract does is it acknowledges and accepts that the district and DLA, the district has gone through the professional service selection process, and I wrote my notes here, the professional service selection process, and that DLA was selected as their architect. And we can go forward and use DLA for any job, regardless of size, regardless of cost. This does not fall under the $25,000 requirement of bid. However, this general contract, every project, individual project or different thing that we do with DLA should be a separate MOU, and the attorney strongly recommended at that time we do a general review of the contract, but also specifically in each MOU you cite the scope, the insurance, the rate of pay, all the specific stuff specifically related to this project. This does not bind us in any manner to DLA, so if we get the $8.9 million and halfway through the construction project we see that we want to change the architect, we are not bound without, I think it's 30 days notification. But we can go out and do the professional selection process for another architect.
Any questions?
What about the other? What about the typos, et cetera? Are they going to fix them?
He was still going through some of those. As far as the one where you wanted a date to say, I didn't think that one was going to be changed. Thought that was the 9-month one, but that one I think he thought that they both were in agreement on that.
That the 9-month is on the other MOU.
Village.
The village MOU.
But as far as that, I didn't get all the responses, so if you want to wait till you get a formal answer to all your questions to vote on it, we can do that. But I needed these three before the meeting to make sure that we're on the same page.
Let me just get to the crux of it, so I understand it. We're entering into this now so that we don't have to go through the vetting process later.
Correct.
Any project that we do will have a separate, in essence, contract. We'll have an
Absolutely.
MOU,
Right.
and we'll have the chance to make, some
Modifications.
not only to the MOU, but to this.
Yes. And he recommended that as well.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one other one. I have to find it, though. I think it was the insurance.
Oh, yeah.
We're only providing $1 million of insurance.
As I stated in my response, he said that we should always include different insurance amounts in each MOU for each project.
Well, I'm going to tell you, my opinion on it is, and I'm not your attorney, but I work on these kind of agreements day in and day out. If you put it in this agreement, it's not required to put an MOU. And whether people remember to do it or not is a different issue. And if you agree to the general provision here and nobody ever adds more, you might never get it. And $1 million for this, these limits they have on there for this kind of work is quite low. And I'm going to guess, if you ask them, DLA probably has much more insurance. They're just putting a low amount in the agreement. It won't cost them anything more. And the problem is, even though we can switch, the idea probably is we won't. So, again, we hope this doesn't happen, but if you're having a same situation with DLA you're having with White right now, 6 years after the takes place, not dotting your I's and crossing your T's at this point is going to carry over and affect a dispute later on.
Any other discussion on?
No harm in asking those points, I would think.
Okay. But in Ed, what you've read is that anytime we do a project, we're gonna have to have an MOU and then set up the insurance at that time too, right?
No, it does not say that.
I'm asking Ed. right?
Yeah, I didn't see that in writing, and, to me, why should we have to negotiate that each time with them? I would put a number in that we feel comfortable with. I don't know what
Matt,
that
I don't know
number
why you
is.
don't want to ask me, but I read it verbatim and put notes. And it doesn't require that in there, and I don't think that's what the attorney told Kevin. He just said we could do that each time we do an MOU.
Okay.
Well, Tim, do you have any idea what it should be if it's low?
You
I
suggested numbers.
suggested some numbers in there.
Yep.
And I would say those are pretty,
I couldn't open up your email, so I didn't see what you wrote.
all right, well, Kevin, you saw it, right?
I
Right,
couldn't
I sent
open
it to
the-
the attorney.
Yeah, and they weren't huge increases, and I think you are right. I mean, they've got more insurance than they're letting on. And I don't mean that in a devious way, they just send it out this way. And so I don't think they should be offended in any way, shape, or form, and it probably will just be an okay when they get back to us.
All right,
So I understand this correctly, the board wants me to hold off, and at least, at the minimum, we want to increase the insurance.
and make the typos.
And
All
we
right.
probably should date the agreement on February 12th, since that's the date the MOU is signed and that we passed the resolution.
Any other things from the board?
I think the date is what, February 13th on the
15th.
agreement? So isn't it after we agreed to go through with them, then they started to start the contract, is that
Well,
it?
she signed the
January
letter that you're
7th.
attaching, yeah, but she signed it on February 12th. and
That's
that was
Matt's signature.
Or Matt did, so, there's a little bit of a gap between when we're saying we entered it here and when we're saying we entered it there. I just make a match.
All right, so the insurance, we'd like to see an increase in the insurance amount in the general coverage, correct?
Yes.
Anything else that we want to see?
If we did that, then it'd be good to go? Tim and Ed?
He said he's gonna look at the other comments, he just didn't have time today, so.
Right.
There were a number of other comments.
So if you could do me a
Reciprocality.
favor and send us an email with those comments that I
I-
can open up and see. I couldn't open up your email.
I have the
So-
comments, it was about 20 pages, so it was a lot on most of the agreement.
Okay.
Again, when I get those things from you, I send them off to the attorney, ask him to look at it. And then we spoke yesterday to try to get some general things of what you really wanted to make sure, so that's what I thought I was answering tonight.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I don't get into the whole typos
Yeah, I know.
as much as I do as like the insurance, that's a pretty big one that we need to follow up
Right.
and get another answer on, so, I don't think that will be an issue.
All right, so we're gonna bring that up then at the Calvin?
Yeah, that's fine.
The other comments that I recall that Tim had put on the contract that to me seemed important, had to do with reciprocality of notice periods and responsibility there. I mean, they should agree to all that. It should not be an issue.
Okay.
All right, so at the Cow, Marianne, that's gonna be a meeting where we're gonna vote on that?
So we make it a special?
Make it a special.